wherever you are. This is Lee, and we're on the Game of Tongues, where we work on speech anxiety in all its forms. And we're talking to Javi, and he lives in Madrid. And we've been talking actually about quite a while now, since about last summer. And we've had a lot of talks, and actually, Javi has made a tremendous amount of progress. He, when I started talking to him, he stuttered a lot, and now I have trouble catching him doing anything that sounds strange. So it's terrific. And as a matter of fact, he told me that in several instances, he had people, strangers, tell him that after talking with him for a while in meetings, what a good speaker he was, and that I've shared that with. I have one other PWS who's told me that recently, and that is got to be the biggest upper in the world,
Yeah,
for someone who's just coming out of this long dark tunnel of stuttering, that horrible
yeah,
cloud hanging
absolutely.
over your head, and I mean you've just done great. I'm looking back 2 or 3 weeks now. March 9th, you did. That's the last time I show that you had. Prior to that, it was in February. You had a couple of bad incidents, and so it's really been about 5 weeks. Have you had any bad incidents in the last week? No.
Nothing
So
at
it's
all.
it's been has been 5 weeks now, um, since the last bad incident. Now, to refresh your memory, our goals are number one, to get you a month where you haven't had a bad incident, because that
Hmm.
does qualify you to post a success story. And then the second thing is, which your buddy just did. Did you know that? Jorge?
Oh,
Did you
yes,
know Jorge
Jorge.
posted a success story? Did you know that?
Yes, but I didn't watch it. I didn't know he has already posted it.
Okay, well, it's up there, and it's
Okay,
toward the end, and it's under his first name, and his picture's
okay.
on there.
All right,
So
I will
so
take a
you
look at
can't
it.
miss it. Anyway, we're very happy for him. I couldn't talk to him today. He called. I was having equipment problems, but
Okay.
we're really happy for him with that. But so that's number one. It's been a month, and it's been 5 weeks. And then secondly, our next goal is to for you to be able to say, "I love to speak," and mean it. And this means you got to be comfortable speaking. Public speaking. You got to
Mhm.
be comfortable with that too. So
Yeah.
that's the second step. And we don't go from talking to three people at a cocktail party to giving a speech in front of 100,000 people with the TV cameras. We don't make that big a jump. We kind of go we kind of go like this. Gradually, we push our comfort zones, and we just get more and more comfortable, and you get more and more excited about, in a good way, about your speech, and anxious to do it, and looking forward to it, and enjoying it, really at all its levels. Um, Learning really to think about the listeners, and not what they're thinking about you, but about what you can do for them, and how you can help them, and how you're moving the ball just generally,
Mm.
by communicating. So anyway, so that's kind of where we're trying to go here. And I'm thinking here now. Last time we talked was the 17th, and you said you'd had a wonderful week using the crutches all the time, reading aloud and practicing the crutches, and doing self-hypnosis AM and PM. That's a great report. And has been doing positive auto suggestions before all conversation, and said it's working great. And so my next question is, have you continued to do those things in the past week?
Yes, but I've been a bit busier, so I haven't had that much time to read aloud. But yes, I've been
Okay,
practicing.
okay. Don't lose sight of that, though, because
Yeah.
that's something you want to keep doing indefinitely. You don't want to, I mean, even if you stop Skyping with me tomorrow, and I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I'm just saying, when you do quit, you don't
Hmm.
quit doing the program. You know, you stay with the program until you accomplish all of these goals. And the next one is, I love to speak. And the one after that is, I made stuttering into a blessing. And how do you do that? I mean, that's just reforming your character, dictating your thoughts about the rest of your life. Depression,
Hmm.
boredom, anxiety, insomnia, whatever it is. You know, learning to dictate your thoughts about each one of these other areas of your life. We all have these challenging areas. I'm overworked, I'm
Hmm.
too tired, I've got a bad relationship with this person or that person. All of these things. Perception is when we change our perception, we can perceive things any way we want. And we change our perceptions and see things in a positive way. And our whole life takes on a much more um, pleasant um,
Hmm.
structure. So, in any event, okay, so what can you tell us about your speech in the past week? What's been going on?
Okay. It's been more or less the same as last week. I haven't had any bad incidents. I've had a few threats, of course, as usual, but I managed to control the situation, and I
What do
didn't.
you do with the threats? How often do you get them, and what do you do about them?
About the threats, let's say I have one or two every day, more or less.
Okay.
Okay, so so every time I have a threat, I tend to come to start to get nervous, and so as soon as I feel that, I try to relax myself, to stop talking, to control. To I mean, the first step is to be is to be aware of the situation. So once you know it, you apply the crutches, or you stop talking for a few seconds, and then you start the to speak like a king, as you said a few times
Do you
before.
counter it with positive affirmations?
Yes, of course. Yes,
I think
in
that's
some of these
key.
situations, I do it. I do it. Yes. For example, when I have to speak on the phone, or when I know I have to speak to someone. So those few seconds before the starting of this conversation, I start to to tell myself all these positive affirmations, these auto suggestions. Yes, and they work fine.
Um, I think the most important thing when those fears come is to flood them, to drown them in a sea of positive affirmations. I love to speak, I love to speak. When I speak,
Yeah.
calm floods my body, etc. And then what you said, go into crutch 11, which is, you know, it's the talking less, it's shorter bursts, it's pauses, and it's controlled, it's speaking like a king, it's that
Yeah.
whole thing, that whole scenario. And
Hmm.
that's, um, I was talking with somebody earlier today, younger than, a bit younger than you, about 10 years younger than you, and a very smart guy, but he has the worst time speaking in short bursts. I mean, he thinks he's doing it and he's not. And he keeps running on. And the longer you talk, the harder it is to avoid a problem when you're feeling
Yeah.
pressure. If you don't feel pressure, it doesn't matter how long you talk.
Hmm.
But the minute you feel
Yeah.
pressure, that's when you got to say, hey, I'm going to I'm going to recalibrate here. I'm going to shorten it up. I'm going to, and then when I speak, the crutch 11 is, it's not only talk less, talk in short bursts, use pauses, but it's also, if you need it, and you probably do, grab a crutch. Now, what could the crutch be? It might simply be being really super enthusiastic and passionate about what it is you're saying. You say, that's way over the top. I couldn't do that. But it beats stuttering all to death. That's one approach.
Yeah, certainly.
Word.
For example, a few
Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, a few days ago, I started to get anxious when I was talking to someone, and I started to feel these small bumps. I had a few, and then I realized I just I just realized these few bumps, and I said like, whoa, stop. Let's. For example, I decided to over pronunciate the words I said, and then and to stop and to speak slower. And then it all went fine. I mean, pauses and all that stuff that you
I
just
love
said.
it. I love it.
Hmm.
You're doing something that um, it's absolutely the key to beating it. It's you are focusing. You're really disciplining yourself and making yourself focus on these crutches instead of on thinking about the word
Of
and
course.
forcing things out. You're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You're just changing
No.
your focus completely. And that is absolutely the essence of beating it. When you master
Exactly.
that, and this becomes automatic, eventually that crutch 11, those steps in crutch 11, when you can flip a switch and go into that every single time, you are going to crush this thing. You're going to crush it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It
of course.
cannot beat you. If you do that, there is no way it can beat you.
Yeah, it's true.
And then
Mm-hmm.
you of course, I want to say for at least 6 months, you still read aloud as much as you can. And I
Mm-hmm.
hope that you'll read aloud for entertainment, entertain yourself.
I do.
Um, if you ever have children, read aloud to your children, even before they can get it. Read to them in their crib. Read positive things and play great music like Mozart in the background, or something Pachelbel or something Fab Puccini. Play
Uh-huh.
something great and read to them, and they will love it. They will love it. And you can teach them to read. I've got a number of people with children that ages 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they read to them, and they teach them to read before they go to school, and they bond with their kids. It's a wonderful thing. If you have any nieces or nephews, little ones, and your brothers and sisters who have children, read to
Yes.
them. Or you might even want to consider. I know you got a lot of busy life, but you might want to consider um, going somewhere where you can read to other people, like um, an orphanage or an old folks home or something else where they might view that as entertainment. Something that you find that would be, reading short stories and being very animated about it. And there's some wonderful. I'm think, of course, there's always Don Quixote. You can always read Don Quixote, and you'll never finish it. Reading it, how
Yeah.
many days you come back? You say, we're on page 752 now. And so that reading aloud, you're just hearing all this wonderful speech. Have you done any reading aloud to other people?
Well, sometimes, for example, at work or at home, if I am reading a newspaper article or something, for example, on the phone, and I find it interesting, I sometimes read it aloud to someone else. Yes,
Good.
of course.
Good. I think the more you can read aloud to other people, the better. And it's fun. And you want to think of it as fun. And you
Mm-hmm.
want to be as animated as you can be when you're reading aloud.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever had you read aloud to me?
Yes.
What did I have you
Yes,
read to me? Did I have you? I probably made you read Annabelle Lee to me.
of course.
Of course I did. I give everybody, they have to do that to me because I love that poem so much. And
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
so that's a great one. But
Hmm.
do you feel that you are becoming a much better, more colorful reader as a result?
Absolutely, yes. Hmm. Of course.
This is great fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
really is.
And for example, I'm finishing Don Quixote, and I love to read that book because it has a lot of rhythm in its, in the book, and it's really fun to read.
I'm so happy that you did that. I'm so grateful that it's. If I did nothing else for you, I got you to read your the greatest piece of Spanish literature ever
Yeah.
written, to my knowledge.
Hmm.
Um, it's just, I mean, in every language loves that book. Every language,
Hmm.
every culture.
Yeah.
Um, so that's wonderful. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. So glad. So your self hypnosis treatments, you're still doing them twice a day,
Yeah.
and how are you feeling about that? Tell us about that. What difference is that making? Do you think?
Well, the first weeks I started doing it. Well, the effects of this self hypnosis, I started to feel them a few weeks after I started doing it. So it takes time to notice the effects of this self hypnosis, but once they start to appear, it's much more effective than using auto suggestions. And I'm really glad I am doing it, really.
Now, how did you teach yourself how to do it, Javier?
Well, I bought the book that you recommended on your book, and it was
Melvin
about,
Powers.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And it's a very short book. It's quite easy to understand. That one, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And um, exactly. And if anyone is thinking about giving it a try, I strongly recommend it.
Okay.
Hmm.
And how have you been using the crutches in the past week?
Well, I've been trying to use them. Um, I work every time I could, even though I didn't need them to practice them. I also use them when I read aloud. So I used every crutch. So I mean, I practiced every crutch every couple of pages I read aloud, and that's that's it. Yeah,
How do you feel about them at this point?
I feel much more confident using them. I mean, and I even feel that I sometimes use them automatically. I mean, if I have a threat, or I start to feel these bumps, or I start to get nervous, um, I I start to use them automatically, which is great. I mean,
Wonderful.
as you know, practice makes perfect. So,
It
so
certainly
yeah,
does.
that's.
I think, not to oversimplify it, but I do think when you feel pressure, if you can think crutch 11, just
Hmm.
you right away, it automatically tells you talk less, keep it short, pauses, grab a crutch, any one word
Hmm.
linkage, extreme pronunciation,
Yeah.
being passionate, um, changing your voice register, or any
Hmm.
combination of them. You can use more than one of them. But when you are talking less, and when you are talking in short bursts, and when you are taking pauses, you are reducing dramatically your risk of a
Mm-hmm.
problem, you're keeping the pressure off you. Every time you pause and
Mm-hmm.
then you start again, and
Mm-hmm.
then you say something else, and then
Mm-hmm.
you start again. Every time you stop, the pressure's off. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the cumulative pressure that you're trying to prove to yourself you can handle it.
Mm.
You can
Of
handle it.
course. And
And
there is also one one thing that works wonderfully to to kick the ball and to get off this pressure, and you've mentioned it a couple of times before, is to ask questions. It
yes,
makes you much more interesting when speaking, and you don't speak that much. So, yeah.
yeah. And you know, when you ask questions, of course, the other
Mm-hmm.
person gets a chance to talk, and that will
Yeah,
always make them enjoy being with you more
that's
because
it.
you're
Yeah.
showing an interest in them and you're listening to what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's human nature.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
They'll think you're smarter, wiser, more fun. They'll think everything good you want them to think about you,
That's true.
you know?
Mm.
And all you're doing is asking questions. You're just trying to learn something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And you know
exactly.
what you know already, but you don't know what they know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trick. I love hearing that, but I do think that every time you feel fear, number one, power wash it, drown it with positive affirmations, a flood, and go into C11, crutch 11 right away.
Mm-hmm.
Just automatically, it just trips in. Talk less, keep it short, pauses, grab courage.
Mm-hmm.
And smile. Whatever crutch you grab, tack a smile onto it and watch it light up the endorphins in your mind. And it lights up the endorphins in the other guy's mind too. Because if you're smiling, it makes other people smile.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great, 1, 2, 3 punch. You know, positive affirmations of flood, crutch 11, and tack on a smile. When you're talking less, your risks, and as your risks diminish, you relax. Isn't this true? And then you feel it's
Of
easier
course.
to talk. 5 minutes later, the problem's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
I want to say to anyone who's ever listening, I'm saying it to you too, you first and foremost, but when I started talking to you, you stuttered a bunch. And
Mm-hmm.
we've been talking a lot of months, and you stopped stuttering a bunch, and you had what I call bumps. You had a lot of bumps. Javier, I am not hearing hardly any bumps at all out of you. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yes,
huge, man.
I know that.
It's, right. I'm really happy for you. So when do you think we ought to do a little success story on you? What do you think? When do you think we should do it?
Well, I think that next week I'm gonna be out because I'm gonna go with my girlfriend to Marbella, but we can do it any other day. I mean,
Actually, the success story. I mean, do you wanna try and write a draft of one, or do you want me to write one based on your notes and emails and send it to you and you rewrite it?
if
Uh,
you want, you can give me the points that I have to speak about, and I can write it,
yeah.
and we can
What I'll
discuss
do
it.
is I'll just look at. I got notes on you this much.
Okay.
I'll go through the notes The only thing I don't have is is a detailed thing from, like in my book, I lay out some of my worst experiences, because I have to say how it was. And
Okay.
so that's the only thing I can, from my own observations, I know what I heard, but um, I don't have. Are there any things in your past, like you've read my book, you know what I've said about it. Are there anything
Yes.
in your past, like I recount in the book about my gruesome time in court, and
Yes, there are some. Yes, of course.
what would you
Hmm.
say? Could you summarize anything like that? What would you say
Yes.
about those things?
Well, for example, at school, I had some troubles making friends, all that stuff. At university, I had to do some public speaking. That we the people like me used to have. I mean, they used to get more anxious when they have to speak in public. So every time I had to do some public speaking, I had a lot of blocks. Some of them were really long ones. I mean, these moments were really uncomfortable,
So,
and that sort of things. Yeah.
do you remember my description of my time in court when I couldn't say
Hmm.
my name? Do you remember that?
Yes, of course. Hmm. Hmm.
I felt like I wanted to die.
I know.
That's the way I felt.
Hmm.
I didn't know how I was ever going to get out of there. It's so gruesome.
Hmm.
But here we are, all these years later, and I haven't started in 40 years, other than a word here or there that no one ever heard. Are you able now to not judge yourself so harshly and to not expect yourself to be perfect and to, be
Of
more
course.
forgiving of yourself?
Hmm. Yeah, of course.
That's
I mean,
important.
I know I'm not perfect, and I know that people don't think that much about how I speak. They just, I mean, they have their own problems. They they might hear me stutter, but after 5 minutes, they won't remember it.
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
so
That's true.
mhm.
Well,
So
look,
that's it.
is there anything else you want to talk about today?
No,
Because if
no,
there
no,
isn't,
no.
I'll let you go because I'm, in a way, I'm glad you're out next week because I'm out too because I'm moving.
Okay.
And it's
All right.
probably unlikely that I'll be finished. I'm gonna make a note that you told me that we're not talking next
Mm-hmm.
week.
Yeah.
I'll pull that up real fast and get that programmed. So I know, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you're just doing great. Okay. Um, well, look, just stay the course. Just stay the course. Everything you're doing is
Hmm.
the right thing. But
Yeah.
there's no way that you can just say, well, okay, it's done. I can forget about it. I've mastered it because it's the guy keeps wanting to climb out of his grave. So you got to keep putting your foot on his face and shoving him
Hmm.
back down. Just what you're doing is perfect. Just keep that up. Keep doing everything the same way, and let's stay
Hmm.
with it. And our next goal is I love to speak, and you're going to be thinking about. We probably talked about doing a little Toastmasters type thing or something. Have you looked? Are you looking into
Hmm.
that?
Yeah.
Are you
No,
going?
I know we spoke about it, but I didn't didn't look for it. So I mean, I didn't have time to look for it
Okay.
on the internet or anything.
Well, do you think you will? Do you think you will? Do
Yes, of
you
course.
think you will?
So,
Okay. All right. I'll see you in 2 weeks. And
all right.
I'll send you a draft of something and then you rewrite it any way you want. I'll base it on your notes.
Okay.
I have emails from you and things that I will use your words to the extent I can. And then I'll send it to
Okay.
you and you rewrite
Perfect.
it any way you want to write it. But we're not quitting. We're staying on the program here. We're going
Well,
to keep
I
going.
know.
We'd love to speak and we're going to make it a blessing, right? We're not
Yes,
finished till we do
obviously.
that, right?
That's it.
Okay, mate. All right. Have a great Sunday, and I'll
Thank
see
you.
you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Okay, perfect then.
Okay, baby. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Lee.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.